everybody, and thank you for joining me here at the First Alert Desk for your top 5 stories at 1 o'clock from Atlanta News First Plus. Let's get into the latest. Now, I want to start with this story we've been following for quite some time. This is out in Doraville. Now, we've recently learned just today a former Doraville police officer facing felony charges related to a missing teenager's death. Now, if this story sounds familiar, you might remember the name Susana Morales. Now, that was the name of a 16-year-old girl who went missing more than 6 months ago. Her body was found just last week off of Highway 316. The attention now turning to ex-Doraville police officer Miles Bryant. Our Rebecca Schramm has the latest.
He is now a former police officer, according to a spokeswoman for the city of Doraville, which of course is in DeKalb County. He's now in jail here in Gwinnett County. Let's show you the mugshot. This is 22-year-old Miles Bryant. According to a statement, his supervisors at the Doraville Police Department got word yesterday afternoon that Gwinnett County authorities were about to serve felony warrants on Bryant. He is charged with concealing the death of another and false report of a crime in connection with the death of Susana Morales. The 16-year-old first went missing last July as she was walking to her home, which was between Norcross and Lilburn. Her remains were found last week, roughly 20 miles away in some woods near Decula. We spoke last night with the victim's sister, Jasmine Morales. They had just laid Susana to rest when they got the news of a break in the case.
Honestly, just so surprised. So surprised that he's an officer. I mean, we never expected that, and maybe that's why everything took so long for everything to find out. But we knew that eventually everything was gonna come to light. Saying that he's a police officer, he maybe like used his officer power to maybe lure her in or something. We honestly don't know anything yet, but we're gonna know everything really soon, and we can finally say we got justice for her.
So many questions in this case. How exactly did Susana Morales die? What was the officer's involvement, according to detectives? And was anybody else involved? We'll be asking those questions, and we hope to get some answers in the days and weeks ahead. In Lawrenceville, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.
Yeah, those questions, just as Rebecca said, we're going to be following very closely. But this story has just rocked the community and several communities. You talk about a 16-year-old girl who disappears and then is found in just such an unimaginable way. And now an officer, a member of law enforcement at the center of this all. This is a story we're going to be bringing to you as just our hearts at this time go out to the family and all of those involved. Now, let's go to another update that we brought to you during our noon hour. That Marietta fire that we were first talking about yesterday, if you were with us for our 1 o'clock Atlanta News First top stories, we broke into this fire just yesterday. Now, we've since learned new information about the tragedy at this apartment complex. The identity of the man who died in this massive fire out in Marietta, Cobb County officials say his name is Thomas Alexander. He was found dead inside one of the units at the Hampton at East Cobb complex. Again, that's the Hamptons of East Cobb complex. Now, officials say the building where the 74-year-old lived was just fully engulfed in flames. Investigators still working to learn what the cause of the fire was exactly, but we have also learned that 39 people lost their home in this blaze. Just water, smoke damage, 39 people without a home, spending really a new day just picking up the pieces back together again. And I know that we like to keep things local here, but we got to talk just about the tragedy that took place late last night and early into the morning out in Michigan. This is Michigan State University, where we're just learning about the all too familiar scene unfolding at one of America's largest college campuses, and not the first instance either at a college campus. Now, students at Michigan State University described how they used furniture to barricade themselves inside their room as a shooter killed their fellow classmates. 3 students are confirmed dead, 5 others fighting for their lives in the hospital. We've also learned that the gunman took his own life. We'll be following that on AtlantaNewsFirst.com and our Atlanta News First digital platforms. And out in back to Atlanta, focusing a little on our local ties, more officers are on the ground at the future site of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility. Now, opponents call it Cop City. You might recognize it better by that name. Deputy Chief Timothy Peake with the Atlanta Police Department says that the level of violence at this location recently has prompted officers to be redirected to help patrol the area. Now, the DeKalb County area has been seeing just ongoing protests and even a shootout with police that left an officer hit and a protester dead. You might remember that story that we were bringing to you on Atlanta News First. Now, during a city council meeting that was held just last night, Deputy Peake ensured redeployment would not impact emergency responses across the city. He mentioned that the beefed up security comes as the fight continues to stop construction at that site. Now, a group called the South River Watershed Alliance has filed a petition for an emergency restraining order. The documents say in part, quote, "We want to stop construction until the Zoning Board of Appeals issues a decision on the appeals." Tensions continuing to mount at this future training facility. Again, this is just stemming from the recent violence that we took you to, where an officer was heavily injured and a protester died in a confrontation with police. Now, we are going to continue to follow. This is very much going to be a developing story and one that we bring you to. I know some of those stories were difficult to hear, hard to tell, and it's kind of put a damper on this day of love. So I want to end things on a good note for you. A lot of us are looking for ways to honor and celebrate those of our loved ones that we just want to cherish on this day, whether that's a friend, a family member, or a loved one. This is the day to really let them know how you feel, and I want to give you some Valentine's Day saving tips. So check this out. Some tips for you. I'm going to read off this list I put together. I did a little research for all my lovebirds out there. Did you know that the average cost of a wedding in Atlanta is now about $23,000? But it's actually becoming stylish to find just some unconventional ways to throw a more affordable celebration instead. Here's some of my ideas. All right, ready for it? Engaged Valentines. How about a wine or beer tasting night at home? Another suggestion, host a game night with your family. You can recreate a memory and go to a place that'll rekindle all of those mushy romantic feelings. And feel free to sit down with your partner and make a plan for fun things you want to do in the future. Finally, ditch the expensive gifts. I'm talking about the expensive jewelry that a lot of us are looking forward to on a day like today. Really save some cash. What better way to love each other than to save together? I love that. Wishing you all a happy Valentine's Day. This is just such an important day to make sure that those who are important to you in life know that they feel cherished and cared for today. So make sure, if you haven't called mom in a bit, let her know. Happy Valentine's Day. Spread some love to her. Any family members, friends, loved ones, today is the day. Just spread a little positivity. You know we all need it. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Atlanta News First Plus. We'll be back with more top stories for you, as well as breaking news. But in the meantime, check out our website, AtlantaNewsFirst.com. This is where we're putting out the latest on what's happening in your community. You don't want to miss it. Easiest way to stay up to date on these stories, download the free Atlanta News First app. We'll send any major notifications directly to your phone so you don't miss a thing.